This is Black Mental Health Matters. I'm Dr. Kerry-Ann Williams. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Massachusetts. And this is a podcast that's about everything related to mental wellness in the Black community and beyond. Today, I wanted to talk with you about how to maintain your gains in your journey to mental wellness. Now, hopefully, as you've been listening to my podcast, you've been making lifestyle changes to enhance your overall wellness routine. Now it's time to talk about how to keep it going. External changes can often challenge our wellness routines. For example, a change from summer to winter can challenge our weekly commitment to go outside, running, hiking, or biking. Sometimes a change in your job or in your work hours can change your availability to go to a gym or to go to that yoga class. If you have to work in the evenings, that can often lead to a late bedtime, which could affect your previous sleep routine and cause some daytime fatigue. And traveling is a big one. Traveling or going on vacation, though it is a temporary disruption, can disrupt your momentum on a wellness plan, which can be difficult to regain once you return from your vacation and you have to catch up with all the work that you have missed. So, here are some thoughts to help you get through those times when your wellness routine is challenged. Thought number one: remember your why. Why did you start your wellness journey? Was it a video that you watched? Was it a podcast that you listened to? Was it a book that helped you to get started? Go back and rewatch the video, re listen to that podcast, or reread sections of that book to help reset your inspiration. Remember that time before you started your wellness journey. What was that like? Were you tired all the time? Were your thoughts kind of foggy? Were you having uh, trouble with sleep and just feeling out of sorts the next day? Remember that mid afternoon sleepiness and how it improved when you changed what you were doing and what you were eating? And what happened when you were totally sedentary all week? Eventually, your mood and your energy just slipped. Remember why you started your wellness journey. Then think of the people in your life. For some of you, your wellness journey is tied to a goal that doesn't just benefit you, it benefits the people around you. Your wellness goal may add years to your life so you can spend more time with your children and your family and your friends. And it may improve the quality of the time that you spend with them. Remember the people in your life and how your goals connect back to them. Now, along those lines, I want to give you my second thought. I want you to do a little self assessment and pay attention to what you know motivates you. That's not the same for everybody. So, for example, many people find it helpful to set up a little reward system for themselves. So, if they achieve a wellness goal, they give themselves a little prize. Now, here in the US, people have a tendency to like food rewards, meaning, hey, I met my 10-mile goal in my running journey. Let me celebrate by having some cheesecake. Food rewards are easy, they taste good, and they can be quite motivating. However, if you are indeed a person that is motivated by a self reward system, I would challenge you to be creative and think about non food rewards. Try to go for rewards that have a coincidental wellness benefit, especially if it connects you to other people. For example, spending time with a friend, getting your nails done. Choose something that you don't necessarily do all the time, and it doesn't have to be something expensive unless you want it to be. Okay. Now, not everyone is motivated by the same thing, which is why you need to do that self assessment and know what motivates you. Not everyone is motivated by self reward systems. So maybe for you, in your case, you need to do what I mentioned earlier and go back to your original why. For example, are you motivated by being a good role model for your kids? Is that your why? Is it worth it to see them copying you and doing healthy things? Do your wellness habits make you a less irritable person, which could be beneficial for your spouse and your friends? Is it rewarding to see them actually enjoying spending time with you? And what about productivity at work? When you meet your sleep goals and your nutrition goals, are you more alert and effective at work? Are you one step closer to meeting your professional goals? Focus on those reasons as your motivation and on those outcomes as your reward. Now, here is the third thought for when you feel challenged by maintaining your wellness gains. I want you to visualize your end goal. Hold the image in your mind, write it down. I want you to think, where do I see this heading? Where will your wellness journey ultimately take you? What's next? I want you to go to that place in your imagination right now. Are you there? Where are you and what are you doing? Are you running a marathon? Who's around you? What's around you? Do you see yourself sleeping peacefully without disruption? Are you wearing exercise clothes in your imagination? Are you wearing work clothes? Who is with you on this wellness journey? Take time to visualize the end goal. This can help to re energize your plan when you get into a slump. Now, here is the fourth thought: accountability. One of the best ways to maintain your wellness goals is to partner up with a like minded person who is encouraging and motivating. Avoid people who are critical of your weaknesses and negative about your potential. Some of you out there right now that are listening have friends that are like that, and you're afraid to say no to them. Now, if you struggle with setting these kinds of friendship boundaries and saying no to that person, then for now, just add a third accountability partner who has those desired qualities. A person who has a negative communication style, though they may be witty or funny at times, they have a tendency to commiserate with you rather than motivate you when you're in a slump. So use an appropriate accountability or wellness buddy, someone who can encourage you without making you feel guilty or tearing you down for struggling. Okay. Now, I want to talk about some specific situations, just examples of some common situations that can disrupt your wellness journey. I mentioned some of these in the intro, and I just wanted to go in a bit more detail. One of the things that can disrupt your wellness journey is moving, moving from one house in one city to a place in another city. It's common for us to design our wellness plan around where we live geographically. There's nothing wrong with that. That's completely appropriate, and you should definitely use every resource that you have at your disposal to support your wellness. And sometimes you didn't even originally plan to move from where you were living, but life happens, and now you're in a new place. And when you move, it may feel like the resources that you have are less than those that you had before. And that may be true in some ways, but it may also be that your resources have changed rather than been reduced. I find that after moving, it can sometimes take even up to a year to learn about and gain access to the resources that are in the new area. It also takes some psychological flexibility. For example, you may have gotten used to having long stretches of empty road or beautiful running trails, and now you've moved to an urban area and you either have to run along a crowded pedestrian sidewalk or go to a gym or use an indoor track. And that can feel like a really big difference, and that can cause a drop in motivation. You may find that you just don't feel like running anymore. Now, maybe for you, it isn't running. Maybe it's your nutrition goals. I remember one of the times in my life when I moved and I lost access to all my favorite grocery stores where I bought all my favorite specialty foods. And for some of you, you've moved from the city to the suburbs. And that can lead to a loss of certain kinds of conveniences, like an abundance of vegan restaurants or ready made vegetarian foods, or certain food options that could be home delivered to where you used to live, but are out of the delivery area, the distribution area for your new location. So you may find that you now have to prepare more food at home because you can't just conveniently pick it up at the store. And for those of you listening that don't struggle with this, it might not be relevant to you. But for those of you out there with busy schedules who don't spend a lot of time at home, you know that it can be difficult to find foods that check both boxes of being convenient, that is ready made, and checks the box that meets the requirements for your nutrition goals. Similar to the exercise goals, it may take you a while to find your resources. And the longer that you stay there, you may eventually find that right store that you're looking for, or even a new meal delivery service. It's another psychological shift. You may have to do your own meal prep on the weekends for a while and create your own convenience during the week. You'll have to be your own meal delivery service in a way, making all of your prepackaged sandwiches and your prepackaged salads and labeling the dates for your own grab and go for your own work week. It is a big difference. But to go back to what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, you may want to revisit your initial motivation for achieving your wellness goals and visualize your end goal. Moving can present a big challenge to your psychological mindset and your motivation, but being flexible with change can help you to maintain your wellness gains. Now, the second situation that I want to talk about is vacations or holidays, conferences, sickness, such as a transient viral illness, and other kinds of temporary disruptions that can punctuate your momentum. And in this scenario, you might have a gastrointestinal illness or a respiratory illness, and you feel weak, nauseated, tired for a period of time. Or maybe you're traveling for a week and you're just on a completely different schedule. And in this situation, it's generally acceptable to pause on some aspects of your wellness plan until you return. But when you do return, a couple of things could potentially be a problem. One is that maybe you were still partially working when you were sick or on vacation, so you didn't really rest well, so you didn't really recover well, and this has put a strain on your physical resources that can affect you maintaining your wellness gains. So it can make you tired. It can, affect it. And then the other thing that can happen is that when you return from your time off from sickness or from vacation, there's work that has piled up from when you were away, and this can interfere with your plan to get back into your wellness goals. You start thinking, I didn't have time to prepare my meals, blah, blah, blah. So, what are you going to do about it? Well, this is a challenge, but I would say I would start with this. When you're making a plan for vacation and you know that you're going to be taking a break from certain aspects of your wellness plan, schedule in some margin. Don't tell yourself that the very first day that you get back, you will immediately resume everything. That's a setup for guilt and for failure. Give yourself some margin by setting a date that is sometime after the day that you return, maybe even the following weekend. And that will be the date to press the restart button. It's the same thing when you're recovering from an illness. You may need to give yourself some margin before you start hitting it hard with the exercise plan again. And so this situation of restarting or resetting your plan is another situation where it could be really helpful to have an accountability partner, someone who says, let us go together. Let us do this, because it can help get you out of that slump. And if you don't have an accountability partner, again, go back to the visualization exercises, visualize your end goal, how much you want it. Think about who you're doing this for, whether it's for yourself or for others. Another thing that can influence your wellness goals is people. For example, many people have, let's say, space issues in their house. So their guest room might double as their workout room. Well, what happens if you have a guest and now they're in the room with the exercise equipment? Well, you have a few options. If you want your guest to feel free to have the room the whole time, then you have to make a plan for a replacement activity and stick to it. And you have to be good at setting a time boundary to continue to engage in your wellness activity, even if that person is in your house. So that's something to think through. Alternately, you might have to be transparent with your guest that they are staying in the multi-purpose room. And so from this time to this time, you might need to ask them to go sit in the living room or somewhere else so that that space is available to be used as a wellness space in those moments. And this may seem like a minor thing, but sometimes it's these minor things that disrupt the momentum of a wellness plan. People. Sometimes they invite you to an event that's at the same time you normally have your self-care planned. So it may just come down to setting boundaries with people or being flexible with your self-care plan and planning ahead, scheduling margin and that sort of thing so that you're free to kind of flex a little bit with the self-care versus spending time with people and all of that. Now, the last specific situation I'll talk about is a change in season. In temperate climates, that is most often a change from warm weather to cold weather or winter. In subtropical or tropical climates, that might mean a shift to rainy season, where it might be gloomy or rainy for a certain stretch of time. Now, if your wellness plan relies on you driving somewhere through snow or running somewhere through rain or going out for activities when it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you might find yourself starting to pull back on aspects of your wellness plan. If you're serious about maintaining your wellness gains, you need to plan ahead for contingencies. Maybe if you live in a temperate climate, you need a separate summer plan and winter plan. And try to plan it in such a way that your winter plan doesn't feel inferior to your summer plan. Otherwise, you might lose your motivation. You want to be able to look forward to any of those plans. For example, you may shift to winter sports if cost effective or indoor sports. Okay. And again, an accountability partner could help you to get out and about during those transitions. So, to wrap up, what has it been like for you with your wellness plan? Have you been sticking to it? What is in your plan? Mindfulness, meditation, meeting with a therapist, having a date night with your spouse, getting your hair done? Have any of these things been disrupted recently? What has disrupted your plans? And what can you do to be psychologically flexible and hold on to your vision for your future wellness? Make a plan today to get back on track and to maintain your wellness goals. Thank you for joining me today. You've been listening to Black Mental Health Matters with Dr. Kerry-Ann. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Kerry-Ann. If you like listening to my podcast, you can rate and review it on your preferred podcasting platform. Thank you and have a great week.